I also wanted to recognize a couple people in the room. First off, my name is Cody Waits. I'm an account manager with Palco. I am actually in our Little Rock, Arkansas office where we're headquartered. Also on the phone will be Katie Perdota. She's the National Director of Program Management. And Logan Smith is also on, and many of you know him. He's an account manager for the PA ODP program. So just letting you know that there are a couple other people that are going to be helping me out throughout this presentation and answering questions in the chat. So while we're doing introductions, just want to tell you a little bit about Palco and who we are and where we're from. Well, Palco is a national industry leader providing premium FMS services to 9 states and 14 different programs. Like I said earlier, we're located in Arkansas, and Arkansas was actually the first state to pilot self-direction more than 20 years ago. Palco was the nation's first fiscal employer agent. So first state to pilot self-direction, first fiscal employer agent. And we're focused on industry standards and person-centered practices. That's kind of our bread and butter, so to speak. So the webinar training guidelines, I've already hit on a few of these. All the lines are going to be muted and will remain muted throughout the entire presentation. Again, we'll use the chat feature for questions and pause at certain times to answer them. Time for all those questions, you can include your email address and we'll follow up with you in the coming days. There are also opportunities for you to email or call our customer support team, and I'll go over those at the end of the presentation. Like I was talking about those designated times to answer questions, I want to keep those questions about what I just covered. We have 3 or 4 different times to answer those questions, and if you have any questions about what I just covered, that'll be the perfect opportunity for you to ask those questions. And today's training purpose is for the CLEs and the SSPs to learn about the EVV system. Everyone is welcome on the call. However, if you're an SC or administrative entity or a sports broker questions, let's limit those and allow space for CLEs and SSPs to get their questions in first. So the agenda today, we're going to talk about what EVV is, an overview of EVV and why we're even talking about that. Then we'll go over the 2 different types of EVV that we will be using. We have a mobile application and then also a telephony option. And then we'll talk about how we're going to approve and submit that time. And then there are a couple other considerations to follow up with, just concerning about PA ODP program rules. And then at the end, we'll have kind of a group question and answer time. So first off, for some of you, you may already know the definition, and for some of you, you probably have never heard of EVV before, so that's why we're going into this. Electronic visit verification is a technology solution which electronically verifies that home and community-based services are actually delivered to people needing those services by documenting the precise time service begins and ends. This is actually a federal requirement. It's a part of the 21st Century Cures Act, and that requires all state Medicaid agencies to implement an EVV solution to manage the personal care services by January 1st, 2021. So EVV, what it captures are these 6 points of data, and this is the important piece about EVV and what it actually captures from you. So it's going to capture the type of service that's being performed, the individual that's receiving the service, the date of the service, location of the service, individual providing the service, and the time the service begins and ends. We at Palco have partnered with First Data to provide our clients with one of the best EVV platforms that exists nationwide and has been in business for 17 years. We've worked with First Data and using their Authenticare system for other programs, and they are fully compliant with the Cures Act, and they're very user-friendly and secure. They also offer the clients the choice of EVV via a mobile application or telephony or IVR via a landline phone. We get this question a lot, and we've been getting it a lot. What services require EVV? All participant-directed services under PA ODP will be captured using EVV starting August 16th, 2020. And right now I'm going to take a pause and going to see if anybody has any initial questions over any of the information that I just went over. I must have done a really good job. All right, we've got some questions coming in now. Let's see what we've got here. If you have an SSP that is currently not working due to COVID, should they set this up for the future? If they plan on becoming a worker down the road, absolutely need to go ahead and get them set up with this. Got some other ones here. Does this include job coaching? Yes, this does include job coaching. Thank you, Katie, for answering that in the chat. If your internet connection is down, you're unable to log in, what options do you have? I'll actually go over that a little bit later in the presentation. And let's see here. It is compliant with everything. It is HIPAA compliant, it's secure, so you don't have to worry about that. I just saw somebody put in GPS. We'll cover that here in a second. If there are no other questions about this, we can go on. If you were submitting hours daily, do we still have to submit a timesheet at the end of the week? So EVV will actually cover all of this, and we have some more information later in the presentation to tell you how you're going to approve those time periods. If you are at the client's home, it'll be their landline, so you will need to be present at the participant's home to use their landline. Couple more questions are coming in. We're going to go ahead and move on because I think we'll cover some of these down the road. So first off, let's talk about the mobile application. What is the mobile application? So I already said that we work with First Data, and their mobile application is called Authenticare. It's a smart device application that uses cellular GPS capabilities to capture your location as well as the 6 points of data required to comply with EVV. So capturing those 6 points, again, that is very key with what EVV actually does. So to download this application, you can go ahead and go to your app store on your mobile device. That could be the Google Play Store, that could be Apple Store. Whichever device you have, you can go there and you'll go ahead and search and you'll type in Authenticare. So it's just like the word authenticate except Authenticare. Nice little combination there. So you'll download the app, and the app is actually called Authenticare 2.0. It also will have this logo that you can see on the screen. That's kind of a 2 different colored medical cross there. That if that's the app that pops up, that's the one that you're going to click on and download. Once you complete the download, you will go ahead and tap to open it. And this is very important. You have to tap Allow to access this device's location and allow the app to make and manage phone calls. These might seem like odd requests, but if you do not do the tap Allow, it will not allow the app to function the way it is supposed to function. So in the initial setup, once you've got everything downloaded, you're going to enter the setup code provided to you by Palco. For PA, Palco, the setup code is going to be Palco, PAPRD. Next, once you've put that in, you're going to obtain your device ID. And this is very important too. It's very important that we get the accurate device ID here. So from the login screen, before you ever log in or do anything, you're going to click on Settings. And then Settings will bring up a new menu, and that will be See Device Identifier. You're going to go ahead and click on that, and it should have a little pop-up box, and displayed in that pop-up box will be a device ID. Some of it will be mostly numbers. I know a lot of the Android users will have just numbers in there. If you're an iPhone user, it's a little bit more difficult. They'll have actually letters, numbers, and hyphens in there. Please include all of those when you are writing down your device ID for your registration form. It is super important. And just as I was talking about the registration form, here is kind of a visual of that registration form here. You're going to need to put down the participant's information, employee information, and this is where you're going to choose which type of EVV solution that best suits you. We're talking about the mobile application. You can see under there that it asks for your device ID. Again, it says print clearly and include all dashes or hyphens if applicable. And then once you've filled out this, you're going to email this packet or submit this packet to enrollment@palcofirst.com. And then, of course, allow a few days to process these packets. So once you have registered and everything, we will actually send you your Palco ID, which is actually going to be your worker ID, which is going to be your Palco ID, but we're also going to send you a temporary password. And that password is going to come to you in the EVV notification email. The first time you log in, it's a temporary password, so it will ask you to set your own password after that. Now, take this into consideration. You will not be able to log into the mobile app until the system for PA is live in August. So you will not be able to log in or do anything until it is live in August. I know we're excited to get in there and test it and look around, but it will not be active until August. So wait for the EVV notification email to let you know that you've been registered and everything's okay on our end, and then in August you'll be able to actually log in. So clocking in and clocking out, this is the very important part here. So what we're going to do once you've logged in and everything, you're going to click on New Check-in. Pretty easy. When you click on New Check-in, it will either give you a list of the client that you serve, or you will need to look up your client if they're not found on that list. And you can type in the Palco ID, you can type in last name, whatever is going to bring up that your participant that you're working for. Once you've selected the client, then you are going to click on Service and select the service that you are providing for that shift. Once you've filled that in, then you're going to submit your check-in. And then clocking out is almost just as simple. Actually, it's a little bit easier. At the end of the shift, you're going to log into the app again and then select your active visit followed by Submit Checkout. Once you click that button, a pop-up screen will display, and it will say Checkout Success. It will capture your location and show you your checkout time, and then just go ahead and click OK. And this is important to note that GPS coordinates are collected only during the check-in and check-out process. They are not collected at any other point of the visit. So only when the app is open and you actually check in and check out, that is the only time that you will get your GPS coordinates collected. Now, some of you have asked about limited service or no service. So if you are in a limited service zone, all check-in and check-out data is stored in the mobile application until the device enters a location of internet service. So once that occurs, all that data is then pushed to Authenticare. Always clock in and out, even if you're in a bad coverage area. So I always advise people go ahead and log in before while you know you're going to have everything, get it all set up, and then once you get into that limited service area that you're working in, go ahead and clock in. It will still capture that data, and once you enter back into an area where there is service, it'll all push over to Authenticare. Next, we're going to talk about telephony or IVR. What is telephony? So Authenticare telephony software allows you to utilize the participant's home landline phone to clock in and out, and it meets the criteria of the 21st Century Cures Act. Telephony is also sometimes referred to as interactive voice recognition. So if you hear us use both terms, they mean the same thing, so IVR and telephony. So registering for telephony, you're going to do the exact same registration form that you did for the mobile application. You're just going to select option number 2, which is the telephony IVR option, and you're going to provide the participant's home landline phone. And then also, you're going to mail this into enrollment@palcofirst.com. All of these registration forms will be located on our website and are currently located on our website under the Pennsylvania program tag, and then just scroll down a little bit and it'll be in the EVV section. So using telephony, you're going to use the participant's landline home phone. You're going to follow the IVR instruction sheet, which is located on our website as well, and you're going to dial a toll-free number at the beginning and the end of the visit. So when you start your visit, you're going to dial that toll-free number, and you're going to enter in your Palco ID. And then from there, there are several prompts that you'll go through to clock in. Once you have ended your visit or your shift, you're going to call that toll-free number again. You're going to enter your Palco ID, and then you're going to follow the prompts to clock out. And I know we get this question a lot, but a lot of people ask, can I use telephony from a cell phone? No. Sorry, unfortunately you can't. Telephony should always be used via the participant's landline phone. This phone should be registered with Palco First Data as part of your enrollment process. So hopefully that answers a lot of questions that you guys might have about using your cell phone for this. We really, it has to be the participant's landline phone. And some of you are already wondering, what number do I call? We have a user guide that has all of this information on it, also step-by-step instructions on how to use both the mobile app and this telephony option. But the toll-free number you should use and to check in and out is 1-800-320-0114. And I know some of you are probably writing that down, so I'll leave it up for a second. It's 1-800-320-0114. All right. So I know we've been getting a lot of questions, and I know Katie from Palco has been answering a lot of those. I always ask people, if you are not with Palco, to refrain from answering any questions in the chat. It might confuse some people, as we might have conflicting answers. And I also wanted to remind everybody that the user guides for both the telephony option and the mobile option are located on our website. Again, you'll go to the Pennsylvania program tab, and then you will scroll down and find those forms located on the EVV section. And yeah, like Katie said, we will get to the rounding section very shortly about clocking in and out. So that is something that we'll definitely cover. right. And Carol had a good question. Does the device used to capture the GPS location have to have cellular data? My iPad is not set up for that. So I believe that even if you're using an iPad or a mobile device if you have Wi-Fi, it still will be able to capture that information. The device ID, somebody asked if the device ID can be accessed before downloading the app. No, this is a great question. A lot of people think that they can get their device ID from their actual phone ID, and that makes a lot of sense. So I've gotten people giving me the IMEI number and other numbers that they get on there. But no, the device ID will only be gathered through the app. It is from the app that First Data gathers that information using that particular device ID. Since we are all transitioning over to this EVV platform, you would go ahead and just check it's a new setup for an existing SSP, because it is going to be a new setup. If there are any changes that need to be made, say you get a new phone or a new device, we will need to update that registration form, and there's a checkbox on that registration form for you to just simply do an update. We'll need a new device ID because it will change when you are on that new device. So great questions, good questions, everybody. If there's not anything else that hasn't already kind of been covered, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Talk about approving time. So some of you are probably already doing this and using this, and that's great. You're actually going to have a leg up on everybody whenever we start using EVV. So we actually use our Connect application or our Connect time portal system. At the end of the pay period, the worker and the CLE will need to log in to the Connect application, and that's where you are going to view the time entries. These time entries can be rejected, they can be modified, or they can be approved for submission, all using the Connect portal. So this is kind of a workflow of how Connect works. So first, the worker is going to record their time via the EVV platform. So whichever one they chose, this is how you're going to record your EVV. This information will be transferred over to Connect, and it will go in with a timesheet status of open. The worker, at the end of everything, the worker can log into Connect, and they can review everything that was put in there using their EVV platform, and they can make any edits that they need to, and the worker will then submit to the employer. The employer will get a notification sent by email, and then the employer will go in and log into Connect, and they will approve time. Now, if they see that there's something wrong or some error on there, they will go ahead and reject that, and a notification will actually get sent back to the worker with the timesheet status of needs resolution, and then the worker will need to correct that timesheet. So, and then it goes right back into that cycle. Once the employer has deemed that the timesheet is great and everything is good to go, they can approve that, and it'll go to under timesheet status of under PALCO review. That's when PALCO will review and run our own validations and checks, and then a notification will be sent to the employer by email if time is approved or if it needs resolution. If it needs resolution, it will go back to the worker, and they will need to submit those edits at that time and go back through the cycle. But once we get everything approved, approved time will be paid on payday as usual. So you need to be registered in Connect using an email address provided on your EVV registration form. So every Pennsylvania common law employer and service support professional must have a unique email address to utilize Connect. I know on the form there is a section for the participant to put their email. If they don't have an email but they have a common law employer, that'll be fine. But we need to have a common law employer email and a service support professional email to utilize Connect, and they both have to be different. And once that is done, you will receive an email from Palco letting you know how to log in. So once you get your login information, you're actually going to go to the Connect website, which is connect.palcofirst.com. Again, that's connect.palcofirst.com. And I think you'll be able to get there from our website. We have a section on Connect where you can actually click through to get there. And I know we're going to be making some changes to make that even easier in the future. So the SSP will actually log in to Connect for the initial review. Once they log in with their information, they will click Time Entry. It's actually at the top right corner. And then once you click Time Entry, you'll select the worker, or which should be you. And then you will select the timesheet, and that will bring up the current timesheet. So right here, this is where you're going to review all the submitted time and ensure that it's correct. If everything looks great, go ahead and select Submit for approval. Then it will go to the CLE. They will log into their account and choose to approve or reject the time. So if somebody does reject time, selecting Reject will deny the timesheets and send it back to the worker for corrections. Now this is very important too. You should only reject a timesheet if it is wrong or if it requires an edit. And edits should only be made when absolutely necessary. Edits will be flagged, and too many of these edits could cause you to be out of compliance with the 21st Century Cures Act. But, you know, we all make mistakes, and, you know, EVV is a new thing for everybody, so we know that there will be times when you do need to make a modification or add an entire shift that you forgot to clock in for. We understand. So that's why we have this Connect option, so you can go in there and edit those and put a new shift in if need be. So if a shift requires an edit or a new shift needs to be added, the SSP must do this while the timesheet is still in an open status. So if you've already clicked Approve and sent on to the CLE, you won't be able to make those edits. So as long as everything is in open status, you can make those edits. From there, you can add time, you can edit time, and you can also delete time from there. In edit mode, several things can be changed. You can change the service type. Let's say you selected the wrong one. Or you can actually adjust the start and end time using the drop-down boxes. Sometimes there will be a mistake maybe on AM or PM, or again, you clocked in but forgot to clock out. So there may be some issues there, but you'll be able to edit those in this mode. When you do make an edit, the SSP will then need to select a reason why they're making an edit. Those reasons are SSP entry error, mobile device error or issue, telephony issue, and other. Please only use other when absolutely necessary. We feel like many of the mistakes and errors and issues that we see are all covered in those top 3 reasons. Only use other for special circumstances. Once all edits are complete, the SSP can submit for approval, and then the cycle begins again. This is a question we get a lot. How many edits am I allowed to have? So ODP will actually be developing restrictions around the number of edits allowed in a pay period. And once that threshold is met, the shift may no longer be payable by Palco. The best way to prevent this is to ensure everyone is using EVV 100% of the time. And like I said earlier, you know, that can be a little bit scary or daunting, But we know people make mistakes, and that's why they are, going to give us a number of edits allowed for each pay period. But the only way to ensure that you are using EVV to the best of your ability is just to try and do it every time. So submitted time. Once the CLE approves the time and submits it to PALCO, PALCO processes the time and runs the necessary validations to ensure it can be paid. Nothing has really changed with payroll. It will follow the same payroll schedule as always. And again, just like now, time not submitted to Connect by the CLE at 5 p.m. on the due date is not guaranteed for payment on time. So nothing really changes there. Rules did not change with EVV. Everything still needs to be at the same time, and the schedule will stay the same. And this is just another preview of the process flow that I just went over. So there's that. Are there any questions about anything that I just covered? So I've seen a couple of them. If the SSP has a flip phone, there are a couple different options. Logan hit on one. If the SSP does not have a smartphone, then they will need to use the telephony option. That's absolutely a good option for you. Now, sometimes that might not even be the option, but maybe the CLE or the participant has a device themselves. An SSP can use a CLE's device. It just has to be registered. So let's say that there's one device that the CLE is providing for all of the SSPs. That can absolutely happen. You can actually, I got a question here, when I get my Authenticare login info, is that when I will get my Connect info? I'm an SSP and never use Connect. You can actually register for Connect now. We have a Connect registration form located on our website. You can go ahead and get set up for that, and we actually encourage that to do that. So go ahead and fill that out, and you'll turn that into our enrollment team as well. If you wanted to download the app now, you can absolutely download it. You will probably need to before August 16th because that's how you're going to get your device ID. I saw another one about rounding. We're actually going to cover that very shortly, so stick with me here. And I've seen a few questions about what if the service is not at the participant's home. You'll need to just go ahead and clock in wherever you are providing that service. These are home community-based services, so we know that there are more duties that are outside the home of the client or the participant. Will EVV replace the Connect app in the existing timesheet? Yes. EVV is the way we are moving forward with this. Now, we're still going to be using Connect, but we're only going to be using Connect to make any of those edits and approve those timesheets so that both the SSP and the CLE will get to look at those and approve those. For the landline, though, the landline does have to be the participant's home. I just got a question about that. The landline should be at the participant's home. PA is allowing phone support due to COVID. How do we document this if we are not on site with the participant? So you should just register the participant's landline phone. If you have other frequent locations where services are provided and you're using another landline to clock in and out, that's okay. That was from Katie from Palco, so that kind of answers another question. Any way that you need to clock in and out while performing those services, whether, like she said, that landline phone, go ahead and do that, or you can just use your smartphone or a smart device. So I think if multiple people work with a participant and we work back-to-back with them, is there an overlap allowance? So that's kind of what we're going to cover in rounding. And there shouldn't be an option or an opportunity for that overlap to happen if you're clocking in and out correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and move on because I know we've gotten a lot of questions that are going to be pertain to what we're about to cover. So hopefully we'll cover those in the next section. So this is the question that is continually coming up. We're going to be talking about rounding in the 15-minute unit of service rounding. So as we implement EVV, PALCO is also implementing the Department of Labor's rounding laws. So time is actually going to be rounded according to these standards as it comes into the Connect system. So, for example, if you are clocking in at 8:03 for your shift that starts at 8, it's going to round that down to 8 a.m. Now, if you clocked in at 8:08 and your shift started at, it was supposed to start at 8, that's going to round that to 8:15. Hopefully that kind of gives you an idea here of how the rounding will work. I've got a few examples up here on the screen. So this is kind of where the overlapping probably won't happen, even if there is a little bit of delay in the clocking in and out. So if you are working back-to-back with somebody and you clock out at 8:01 and that person clocks out at or clocks in at 8:03, you're both going to be clocked out. One person's going to be clocked out at 8, the other one's going to be clocked in at 8. So there's not going to be any overlapping there. The hour unit of service rounding, this only applies to homemaker and chore services for those service authorizations, and you must meet the minimum service standard set by ODP in order to claim the service. So for this hour unit, 1 minute to 52 minutes is rounded to 0, 53 minutes to 112 minutes is an hour, and 113 minutes to 172 minutes is rounded to 2 hours. So a little bit of information there. As always, these slides will be available on our website. So if you are following along and you need reminders on what these rounding rules are, you can absolutely go to our website and download this. It's in a PDF copy. Go ahead and do that, and then you will have that to look back on. And then finally, the day unit of service rounding. So day respite services must meet a minimum threshold of time in order to be payable. This isn't anything new with the day units. Shifts less than 16 hours and 1 minute in length will not be paid by PALCO and will be the responsibility of the CLE to pay. All shifts should be between 16 hours, 1 minute, and 24 hours long. Shifts that cross into the next pay period will not be paid until the following pay date. So if a SSP provides day respite from 10 a.m. on Saturday until 8 a.m. on Sunday, and that Sunday is the start of the next period, that time will not be paid on the initial payday. CLEs and SSP should familiarize themselves with the payroll schedule. Payroll will only be captured on days that fall within the specified date range. And then 2-to-1 services. 2-to-1 services require time for both SSPs to be recorded simultaneously. So both SSPs should clock in at the same time to avoid processing issues. If the second SSP is late, the shift should not start until they both arrive, or if there's authorized, the first SSP can use the 1-to-1 service until the second SSP arrives. So if this is happening, speak to your service coordinator if you have any questions. And I already anticipate some questions about clocking in at the same time. This is where rounding helps out as well. So one SSP has a shift that starts at or the 2-to-1 services both start at 8 a.m., but one SSP clocks in at 8:01 and the other one clocks in at 8:04, that's actually going to be a clock in at the same time because it's going to round down to 8 o'clock. So there won't be any issues there. But if it's, past that point, like 8:07 or 8:07 and beyond, you'll need to make sure that you're clocking in at the same time then. And then more about shift exceptions and edits. So every edit to a time submission is actually considered a shift exception. Shift exceptions do not meet the criteria outlined in the 21st Century Cures Act and may not be payable. ODP regulations may limit each CLE to a maximum threshold of exceptions in a pay period. More guidance will come on that in the future. ODP will let us know and how many of those exceptions will actually be accepted. Time submitted outside of this threshold will not be paid by PALCO and will be the responsibility of the CLE. All right. And this is another time for questions to come up. I know Katie and Logan have been answering some questions in the chat. Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and see if there are any questions about what we just covered. Katie is awesome. Thank you, Sherry. And we're still unsure about the time edits, Betty. I know it seems like it's harsh, but hopefully with all of the, all of this training and the guides that we put out that are on our website, hopefully we can limit those, and it actually won't be too much of a bad thing, or people won't have too many exceptions. Let's see here. There's a great question. You cannot interchange. I should have answered this earlier. You cannot interchange the between mobile app or telephony. You should only use one device, one phone number. So there shouldn't be any interchanging there. You don't have to worry about the app rounding for you. Just go ahead and clock in like normal. It'll come into Connect and it will do the rounding for it. In reference to the self-directed services, does the SP need to clock in near the participant's home? If the services are happening in the home, go ahead and you'll need to clock in there. I know that some of you have mentioned that the services aren't always located at the participant's home. Well, go ahead and clock in wherever you are and you're starting your services. If your service type changes during the shift, you should actually, you'll need to clock out from that service type, and then you'll need to clock in under the other service type. All right, Katie's answering some questions in the chat. Are there any other questions? I've got a little bit more left. Can the service provider use a tablet or an iPhone? Or yeah, you can, absolutely. That is definitely an option. What if your iPhone breaks? Well, that's why we have the Connect application. Hopefully you have a backup, or you can get a backup for that. But for any shifts that are missed, you'll need to go ahead and put those in Connect. And you can add that time and edit that time in there. Now, of course, it will come with, you'll have to put a reason in there for why this shift is being entered this way, but that way you can still put that service in there and that shift in there without having that iPhone. Can the SSP just use the CLE's iPhone? Absolutely. So this is something that we've done on other programs that maybe some of the SSPs or the collection of SSPs don't have smartphones, but the CLE has a tablet or a device or a smartphone that can absolutely, all SSPs can sign up under that one iPhone from the CLE. They would just all need to submit separate registration forms, including that device ID on there. All right, we see some other ones getting answered there. It says, are you or Logan available to troubleshoot problems of all kinds on a regular basis? Well, we are available, but we always suggest using our customer support team. They are very knowledgeable, especially on EVV. I've been working with them on EVV a lot, and they are very adept at knowing exactly how to solve these problems. If they run into something that they can't do or need a question about, they will reach out to somebody and escalate that issue. And then I saw some questions about midnight. So if you are going over midnight, you know how the old way you would have to clock in and out, we will actually, those will automatically get split if you go over midnight. So if your shift starts at 8 p.m. and doesn't end until 4 a.m., just go ahead and clock in at 8 p.m. and don't worry about clocking out at midnight and then clocking back in. Just go ahead and clock out at that 4 a.m. Because our system will go ahead and split that. And we'll be doing more trainings. We're actually going to be doing these trainings all the way up through the end of August. So be on the lookout for more information about that. And as always, like I said, you can call in to our customer support team. They are a great resource, especially concerning this stuff. They know it just as well as I know it, and I've been working with them a lot on that. So I'm gonna still don't stop with your questions or anything. I'm just going to move to the next screen here. So just a little update on next steps. Ensure all of your SSPs have completed the PALCO EVV registration process by submitting the form, and the forms are sent to PALCO. So we need that in by the deadline is 7/10/2020. I know that's a little different than the information that was sent out, but because we've moved the date to August 16th. We moved the deadline to 7/10, so July 10th. So that's when you'll need to have all of those forms submitted by. Again, as we've said before, please review the PALCO EVV user guides and ensure that you have access to everything that you might need, mobile app, landline, internet access, any and all of the above. There's great information on there, and actually through all these questions that you've asked tonight, we're actually going to update our frequently asked questions form that we have on the website eventually, so that will be available. And I want to thank every single one of you because you really have asked great questions tonight, and I look forward to doing more of these and using the information that I've learned tonight on those. So again, the resources, you'll go to PALCO First's program page and you'll select Pennsylvania On that, you'll scroll down, and there's an EVV section. We've got our FAQ there. The registration form is there. Our user guide for the mobile app, for telephony, and the user guide for Connect are all on there. They are step-by-step instructions. I kind of just touched on some of those things. But those user guides are step-by-step instructions and can actually walk you through the entire process. Again, I want to say thank you. If you all have questions or need support, we're here to help. I hope you enjoyed the training and learned something. The phone number that you can call for our customer support team is 866-710-0456. You can always fax us information to our fax line at 501-821-0045. And if you have any other questions beyond this that maybe we didn't cover, or down the line you just think of something that while you're in process of registering or anything like that, please do not forget you can email info@palcofirst.com, and those questions will all go to the appropriate sources. All right. Well, I guess all the questions have been answered, and or hopefully they've been answered. But again, thank you all for a great evening, and hope you enjoy the rest of your night.